there, my name is Maggie Berry, and you're watching The Green Room, a behind-the-scenes web series that pulls back the curtain on some of the most exciting new projects happening at the Fifth Avenue Theater. Last episode, we explored why the creative team behind Half the Sky and the Fifth Avenue felt like right now was the correct time to tell this story, and why the show is so important. In this episode, we really wanted to break down how exactly is Half the Sky being produced as a radio show during a global pandemic. With working artists located in Thailand and across multiple states in the US, the idea of figuring out how to create a format where everyone can be involved from the recording to production sounds like an impossible task. However, it is possible, and we sat down with the man behind making it happen.
My name is Eric Holden. I'm the technical director for the Fifth Avenue Theater, and my role is technical director for the radio play Half the Sky. Usually technical directors are making sets or doing something like that, and obviously this is a virtual thing where there's no sets, so a little different. Things are similar, some things are different. My main job really is to facilitate the artists and make sure that they have what they need to create the art they're creating. When we decided to do this show, the biggest question was facility, and obviously COVID times makes this all brand new and difficult, and some of the resources that we would normally use aren't available to us, like our building. A primary role for me is just the safety of all the people involved. And what that has led to is when we decided to do radio plays was, well, what is the space that we need to create such a thing? So we created rooms down in DAT 5.
For those who don't know, the DAT 5 that Eric is referring to literally stands for downstairs at the Fifth, and it's the space that is actually underneath the Fifth Avenue Theater in downtown Seattle. And normally that space is reserved for community events, post-show talks, educational programs like the Rising Star Project, but now in a post-pandemic world, it's being reimagined as a space to record content in Fifth Avenue's new digital season.
So we created rooms down in DAT 5 to basically small recording booths that we could isolate people into with the objective of A, making quality recordings, but B, keeping them safe so that they could actually do their work without putting themselves or other people at risk around them. So the recording studios that we built downstairs, we have 4 of them. 3 of them are meant for just a person, so they're not very large. They're just under kind of 4 feet by 4 feet square. But the technology to be able to record people in there safely while being as distant from them as possible is a big challenge. So when we decided to do our main vocal recordings in New York, that kind of changed part of our process a bit, and so kind of the role changed then from, all right, well, we have to find a space now in New York that can offer the same capabilities that we have here. So just kind of a logistics puzzle.
Yeah.
For creating that space, making sure that our actors were comfortable, making sure that our musical director was comfortable, and that was a difficulty because at the end of the day, normally for a project like this, when we would be doing recordings in a different city, someone from here would go there to facilitate that.
Right.
And in this case, we couldn't do that. So finding the people then over there to be in roles that we might normally take on here, coupled with working closely with a studio to make sure that they had their safety precautions in place and were both to a standard that was acceptable for the unions, but also a standard that was normal to what we're doing. Just a challenge logistically to be able to support the artists in New York when we're all over here. When we did the recordings in New York, all of us who were remote could see each other, who was kind of in on the session, but we couldn't see the actors. But the actors could see all of us because there were screens in the studios that showed all of us.
Yeah.
So when we talked, we didn't talk through Zoom. We talked through, what we call Pro Tools, which is the recording software. We talked through those sessions, and they just talked to us through their mics in their rooms. We talked back to them through their headphones, which is also going through the Pro Tools session. That's what we're doing here right now as well. People are finding ways. I mean, if there's anything that I kind of love about the COVID times is the invention that is happening. It's necessary and frustrating, but it's still kind of a fascinating invention as people create tools to do things.
Creating a musical in this way requires incredible focus and a great attitude. Luckily, the team behind it all had just that.
Hi, my name is Robert Frost. I'm the music director for Half the Sky. So the question is, what is the sort of general energy or environment of like a Half the Sky rehearsal room,
right,
with the cast that we have and with the team that we have? Mostly I just love all these people, so it's like an easy excuse for me to gush about it. There's just been like a wonderful environment of like, we're in a pandemic. Like, don't feel like you have to push through and come to work. If you don't feel great, that's okay. If you're having a problem, let's have an open conversation because it's all new to us. So it's a bunch of snacks and it's a bunch of people being really open and wonderful. And I wouldn't trade that for the world.
Snacks are a very big thing. We would start rehearsals often, whether it was in Zoom or in person, and then the team would Zoom in, and we were all in studio in New York. But like our director and the writers were all over the place. We would always start meetings and rehearsals with, what did you have for dinner last night? Or what did you eat for breakfast this morning? What's the last thing you ate? And that was how we would start rehearsals. The food was very, very key.
It's very important for us to enjoy the moment. Like be nice to the people around you and, enjoy the moment.
We had pretty long, I think the longest Zoom rehearsals that I've had for any of the virtual readings or concerts that I've worked on in the last 9 months. It would be, 10 to 6 every day on the computer. So you log in, Robert, our music director, would teach music, but how you have to do it because of the lag on Zoom is he'll play it and you mute yourself and you sing along or you learn your music or whatever. And they just sort of hope that you did it right. And so it was a long day of like listening to him working with people and singing in your room and no one can hear you. And you're like, I think I got it.
Because of COVID-19, many people have found themselves living closer to their families. And for the Half the Sky production, there has been no exception.
Des was in Seattle for part of it, and then in Portland. Tataya, the composer, was literally in Thailand. She was like, I'm getting like 2 hours of sleep a night, but still had like the kindest spirit, and you would never know that she was on a completely backward schedule and no sleep.
Some of the days is like me starting the Zoom call at 9 p.m. Thai time, and then it will end around 6 a.m. Thai time. And then sometimes it was starting the Zoom call at midnight, and then it go all the way to like 9 a.m., 10 a.m. So it's a lot of night time. In a way, I'm used to it now. My biggest fear that it didn't happen that many times, that I forgot to convert the right time zone. I mean, now I know that there is a website that you can convert time, and then they have like this specific time, and then you can click on it and then you can see this is Thai time and this is Eastern Standard Time.
Wow, I'm not sure how I do working through the night. Tadaya's work ethic is so admirable.
Taya and I normally, pre-pandemic, we would meet about twice a week and we would sit down, maybe have a snack. Now that things are virtual, we would basically go on to, Google Doc. Our two like blinking cursors would be there and I would write and Tataya would just, we'd be on the phone and Tataya would just comment in real time or just go in and change it. So we were really just like writing in the cloud. I think we've just gotten used now to just writing in the cloud. And thank God for technology because we can send voice memos back and forth to each other and, we can use those as building blocks.
Half the Sky serves as a tangible example of how theater can still be made in a meaningful way despite COVID-19 restrictions. And the story has potential to make a substantial impact on audiences worldwide.
My mom used to say, bloom where you're planted. Here's the now, and instead of talking about all the things that we miss, let's talk about what's going on right now. So for me, I think the exciting thing about virtual content is the accessibility and the reach that we're able to do outside of the Fifth Avenue Theater in downtown Seattle. I think that's really, really remarkable.
When thinking about doing Half the Sky and what we would say success looks like, it's that we shared another new musical with an audience. Art forms that live in the past eventually become the past. And there is no future in that. And so investing in these writers and investing in a new story is really, really important. So success is that more people get to hear the story. That's actually the thing. And we as the Fifth Avenue Theater, I think, have an obligation to continue to invest in writers to make sure that there are new classics for the next generation and generations to come.
So we want to say our gratitude to our patrons for sticking with us because that helps us get from here to the other side to keep folks engaged, to keep some artisans engaged and employed, because it's with their help that we will get back to performing live again.
It's not a question of if the theater will come back, it's a question of when. We will have live theater again, and it will happen at the Fifth Avenue Theater. That's a given. We're going to do that. We're working diligently, Bernie and I and all of the staff and the board of the Fifth and donors. We're all working together to get us back into the theater, and we're going to get there.
Yeah.
Not sure when yet,
right.
But we will.
You know, as an actress, I have been really scared about the health of the industry that I and so many others love so much. And it's really scary because it feels like there will be no back to normal. I will say though, because of Half the Sky and other virtual projects, there is some hope. I mean, you see the innovation and the creativity coming from so many people, and that is very exciting to see.
The Green Room is shot, written, and directed by Maggie Berry and myself, Emilio Miguel Torres.
This series is made possible by the Fifth Avenue Theater and all their amazing sponsors.
We want to give a huge thank you to all of our interviewees who gave us their time so we could provide informative entertainment for all of you.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to like and share it. And if you want to continue watching the series, make sure you follow the Fifth Avenue on Facebook and Instagram and subscribe to their YouTube channel.
And if you'd like to know more about us, our information is to the right.
And if you've stayed this long, comment your favorite color.
Thanks for watching.